Hi, you are not alone. I can't hear you.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Florencia.
Hi, Zenith.
We are working on, I see that your microphone is muted, so I think that's,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. Let me fix the background of my office. I was working on some stuff.
You're fine.
I love your background with the waterfall in the back.
I always think that Florencia is perpetually on vacation because she shows up with that behind. I'm like, where are you? Oh, okay, it's just your background.
You're muted as well.
I'm sorry. I just said I would like to be on vacation. I'd like to be near a waterfall.
I agree with you. I was just saying today that I am extremely tired and I need a break, you know. But there's so much work to be done.
Yes, I get it. I understand. I'm running on fumes. You know what? On Monday, I went to Queens, then to Long Island, then back to Queens, then to Brooklyn, then back to Queens, and back to Brooklyn. Tuesday to Queens, Connecticut, Queens, and Brooklyn. Yesterday, running around Brooklyn, and then took my adopted mother to the doctor. Came home late. All 3 days, very early days. Had to wake up early again today. Guess what? The car wouldn't start. So I ended up at the mechanic. But all is well now.
All right. Well, Florencia, you just shut me up. I'm not about to complain now.
So how was your day though, Sean?
Just another day playing whack-a-mole
Uh,
in the dark. Whack-a-mole in the dark. Tomorrow I'm going to go testify at
yeah.
the government ops budget hearing, and
uh,
I'm calling it testify, so it sounds good. I'm going to go and beg for money.
well, I pray that the Lord favors you.
Well, if the Lord favors me, the Lord's favoring you because it's for the community. I wasn't going to make a personal plea.
No, no, no. I know you're doing it for the community. Absolutely.
I mean, it was. I hope I'm not talking out of school in front of you, Ms. Taylor, but
Oh,
it was.
no worries. I'm just
It was tight. This year's youth conference was tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need funding to buy bonbons, we're doing things. We need it to
Yes.
provide opportunities, gateways to opportunities for our youth.
Absolutely.
I don't see things getting easier for the youth in the very near future. So
Ugh. And so many programs are being cut, Sean.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Not looking good at all. But a change will come.
That's what the song says.
Exactly.
generally how many people are on your meetings?
It ranges anywhere from 7, 8, 9, 10 to 14, 15, 16, 17. And it's hard to call, and it's 6:26. So I always get a little bit nervous when it's so close to this meeting starting and so few people aren't. But I find that people jump on as soon as we begin. So by 6:30, 1:32, we'll get started, and then hopefully people will join as we go. Also, just so you know, the the meeting is recorded, it's being live streamed, and so it stays on our website as a resource.
That's fine.
It just. When are they hosting the first youth conference, a youth committee to discuss anytime?
I'm
in the
sorry.
spring? No,
You
I was
speaking to
asking
me
this.
or?
No, I was asking Sean. When are they hosting the next youth meeting, youth committee meetings to discuss the conference?
We haven't scheduled that,
Oh, okay.
so, and April is such a tight month with the
Oh yeah,
holidays.
right. That's
So it
fine.
might be a May
Right.
meeting.
That's okay.
I
So
was,
we probably need another monsoon, and they'll come. More will come, I should say.
I'm just perplexed. I'm so perplexed. It was, we did everything the exact same way. I feel like the people who don't know the youth conference probably looked around and thought it looked healthy because we did have about 200 young people there.
Yeah,
But for those of us who knows that it looks quite different when there's 400 or more,
yeah,
to me, it felt disappointing, but we'll see.
yeah, yeah. But it's fine. I mean, because it was still well attended. Hi, Nancy.
You're muted, I think, still.
You're muted. Yeah,
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing?
we're doing
Good, Nancy.
Yeah, it's been busy.
good.
Yeah, we were just saying that before you came on. It's just, it's every day's a sprint.
Oh, I know. And like running, and never enough time to finish what you have to do.
Yeah.
Mm. It's good to see everyone. My colleague will be on very shortly.
Good to see you too.
And Ms. Taylor, you're first on the agenda, so just so I'm telling you this ahead of time, once you are done with your presentation, you're more than welcome to stay on for the next one, but you're also welcome to take your evening, reclaim your time this evening, whatever works best for you.
Okay. I normally stay on, but tonight my daughter is coming home from college for a week, so I'm going to meet her. So
I think that's a great excuse to skedaddle when you're done. And thank you for making the time.
no, my pleasure. I'm happy to connect. I have connected with the community boards in Queens. The borough, there's a borough-wide civic engagement group that I am a part of, and I love it. So any any involvement that I can be involved in or be a part of is great for me, for my position.
Sean,
Awesome.
sorry to interrupt. Sean, can you do me a quick favor? Can you just resend the email with the link to Hindi? I'm trying to send it to her, but it won't go through. So I don't know if it's because I'm on. Are you able to send it to her?
Just did.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, we're back.
Lindsay, do you want to give maybe just one more minute and I'll reach out to some of your committee members too.
It's 6:33, so do we start now?
I think so. Like Cindy is here and you're here, so
Okay.
let's begin.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first Community Safety Committee meeting for 2025. Welcome, Zenith and Mr. Hunterer. And so Zenith will yield the floor over to you.
Hey, thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. So my name is Zenith Taylor, and I am the first ever statewide civic engagement coordinator for the New York State court system. I actually don't think there's another court system that has a state engagement coordinator. So tag, I'm it. I am the vision of our Chief Judge, Rowan Wilson, who wanted to prioritize civic engagement and civic literacy and to do more outreach into the community. His purpose of doing that was so that we can all know our government, understand our government, as well as actively participate. My main focus since I started, and I was appointed in May, was to really reach out to many of the schools as well as the communities to just really foster relationship and to build trust. I think I've done that. We did our first initiative, which was Constitution Day essay contest. We invited any high school student that is a resident of New York. That meant a homeschooler, that meant independent schools, public schools. And interestingly, this essay contest, the only thing they received would be a first, second, and third prize, as well as honorable mention, no money. And we actually got 227 submissions, and they were phenomenal. So that was our first initiative. And the theme was, why is civic engagement important to the democracy, our democracy? And I felt that was necessary because my whole agenda is to teach civics and to let people understand that we have three branches of government, that the court is a branch of the part of the branch of the government, the judicial branch of government. Many people don't understand that, and so also to impart that we are three. There's three branches of government, separate but equal, and that we are the ones that interpret the law. So I think we are the most important branch of government. So while I have been reaching out to the schools, I've also been reaching out to the communities. We've done a first adult tour in Queens County, and that was wonderful. They met the commissioner of jurors. They went into the county clerk. They also was able to meet the surrogate, talk about wills and trust, met a guardianship judge. So I'm trying to go out into the community to build that bridge from court to community so that people understand what resources are out there, but also that we are part of your community and we work for you. The judges are civil servants, the court is a civil servant position. So I want people to understand and know that that's what we do. But addition to that, we also want as much community participation as possible. And wherever we can fit in, that's where I will go. So I do go to community board meetings, personal meeting, in live meetings. I am statewide, so I go across the state. So Monday I'll be leaving to go to Rochester as well. But I try to make a habit of anyone that reaches out to me, if I can make it, I will stop my schedule to it because I think it's important for people to see me, to hear me, and to understand what I do and where my vision is. And my vision is that we will have ongoing various programs to promote civic engagement so that we can strengthen our democracy and make sure that our rule of law continues. because in this polarized political climate that we currently live in, it is important for that. So if anyone has any questions, please reach out to me. But my email address is zttaylor@nycourts.gov. Additionally, we also have a web page. It's a little hard to get to the web page, so I'll probably send you, I don't know if I can do that, but I could always send you a QR code and you can get to that as well. If you have any community board activities or events that you'd like me to come in and sponsor, I can't say I'll do everyone, but please always send me a plan and an agenda. And if I have to bring court swag or whatever it is, but I will come out most definitely. So thank you. Thank you for everyone for inviting me, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Esquire Taylor. Question: did you say your email is ZT as in Tom, T as in Tom, AYLOR, right?
Yes, at nygovs.com. I mean, no,
And,
at
NY Courts.
nycourts.gov. Yes.
Thank
And
you.
if you go on, it may be a little
You froze.
Yeah, she's frozen.
under public affairs, you'll see the web page and it'll take you to my web page, and there's some various links. And if you also check out the annual report for the court system, there's about 2 pages of information about my department.
Thank you.
I see Sean's hand. Sean, I can't see anyone else, but go ahead, Sean.
Thank you very much. I wonder, well, first of all, I just want to put on your radar that the community board holds an annual nonprofit roundtable. And to the extent that your programs and your civic engagement includes outreach to community-based organizations, it might be, we'd love to include you, and we're holding the date May 21st. And I will get you the rest of the details at your via email, which I put your email address in the chat for those who didn't catch it. And then I wondered if you would just highlight some of the programs that that are either up and coming or that you're sort of like meat and potatoes, sorry, vegetarians, programs that you just want to highlight.
Sure. So since I started in May, I really don't have that many that we've established. But coming up, we're going to start a civics challenge. We're going to try to include the children in things like a civics bee. We're also going to allow them to maybe do a PSA poster about why other students of their age should be involved in civics. We'll also have them do a video contest where they will submit a video PSA as well. We're going to try and encourage the high school students to learn the naturalization test and give them some, prizes or something like that as well. I liked my essay contest last year, but I also feel like you don't want to do an essay contest everywhere. So you want to make things relative to the students. So this time coming around, we're going to do something more artsy and creative. So I want them to try and just use their artistic talents to do those things. Additionally, I would like to start back. Remember those days when we had in debates? Well, I'd like to start to have those things, speech and debate clubs. I think it's important. And what I also want to do is, if I'm going to use a topic, should cell phones be in high schools? If the person says yes, then you're going to be on the no side, because that makes them, teaches them public speaking. It teaches them how to analytically think. It will teach them how to research. And I would love the community boards to get involved with that as well, because you don't need to be an attorney to teach someone how to do speech and debate. I mean, you may need someone with a law background to help them do a little law research if it gets to that point, but you don't have to start like that quickly. I like mock trials only because I have that background, but I think mock trials are a little more difficult. I think those speech and debate clubs, you have 2 people on each side, and you can just go at it for an hour. And then once they sort of get their taste in it, then they can continue and let them pick the topics, because you also want students and the youth to drive and lead themselves. And we're just there to monitor and guide them, because they're our future leaders. And if we don't give them enough experience at an early age, then they're going to get disenchanted. So those are some of the things that I'd like to do. Not the boring stuff. I want to get things that are more fun. Another thing I'd like to do is around Constitution Day next year, maybe give them something to do a reenactment. Maybe it's a play, maybe it's a video, but things where they learn history, but they get involved in it and it's artistic. So those are the things.
I love that and appreciate it, and we'll make sure that we keep you in the fold of our youth conference as well. If I could just take sorry, but I just need to share that I started my week by meeting with a fourth grade class. They came to our office, and I've never felt like a lack of job security like that. I was like, oh my God, they're coming for my job. They are so good and so tuned in and so on point. And those were the fourth graders. So I love all of that. And I do think that, again, going back to the our nonprofit roundtable, I'm thinking too about just sort of the broadness of the outreach that's available in terms of, high school kids and school programs, but also our violence disruptors and those who are coming into contact with people who are maybe just disinvolved in a way that hasn't been positive, and maybe being able to turn that around into a more proactive and positive perspective on the system.
Absolutely. The other thing you have to also consider too, to get them involved in, is just to go out into their community and figure out what would they like to be changed. And then they work with the legislative branch of the government to learn how to get petitions done. I mean, I'm a little older, but I remember Schoolhouse Rock on the weekends and how a law becomes a bill. Our kids don't know that, and we need to bring that back. And we need to even have mock debates and mock hearings on various bills so they can learn, because that's the only way they're going to know how to participate. They don't know. They don't think their vote matters. They don't even think their democracy matters. They have no clue and we are the oldest democratic country in the world, and they don't know that. So that's, I tell people civics has no color, no gender, no race. Civics is the cornerstone of our democracy, and we have to actively engage. And in order to actively engage and participate, you have to know your civics and your history. So with that, I say thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to just partnering, collaborating, talking, brainstorming, because sometimes you can talk 3 or 4 meetings and then you have that aha moment, say, hey, we can do something together. So thank you.
May I just say before you leave, thank you for that. And I love what you say about asking them, engaging them, because a lot of youth, when I'm out in the streets and you talk to them, they have ideas. They see things, especially, from the ground up, but things we don't see, things we don't know, they're aware of. And so, there are kids there being bullied in school, so forth and so on. And so, to know that they do have rights and they don't have to, you know, I love this. And letting them know about their civic duties. I usually take the kids from my church and I take them to City Hall. I've taken them to meet their elected officials. I take them to the precinct council meetings. And today, many of them are now engineers, so forth and so on, lawyers. They've been, and they're very active in community as well. So we just have to expose them.
Absolutely. We also have, I've been trying to revamp the court tours so that when these youngsters go to court, the judge is not talking at them, but it's a little more interactive. We tell them about the careers in the court. You don't have to work at the court to be a lawyer. There are so many other career paths. And we talk to them also about the resources. So it's sort of like, it's not one of those I try not to make the court tours anymore, at least the ones I oversee, to be boring. I want it to be interactive. I want them to first learn about the history, the structure, and the process of our court, that our court started out in the 1600s, and to know about the Dutch history going down. A lot of people don't realize that. So those things are important. And then, when you know your history, you're going to make mistakes, but it's okay. But it's sometimes you know your history as to what happened and why it happened, because certain things happen. It depends on the time period. It depends on the financial circumstances of the country at that time. A lot of people say, if you are from a different race, you say, well, the democracy was for white people. Well, not really, because it was built, the Constitution was there and established to be changed. No one is perfect, and that's why we have 27 amendments.
Thank you. So when you establish the court tours, and you let Sean know, and so we can know, because I'd like to have the youth from our church. We have Pathfinder kids, and so I'd like for them to be a part of that as well.
That's no problem. You just reach out to me on my webpage. We have a court tour request form. You can submit that and we can do it. And we're also going to roll out a speakers bureau. So we will be establishing a speakers bureau for the judicial and non-judicial staff of the court system. And they will come out to the schools as well as to youth groups and churches and any other civic associations to also talk about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, your civics duties, your civic responsibilities. So we're geared up. I'm busy.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you so
thank
much.
you so much.
Would
Yes.
do you do it mostly with high school students, or would you also do it with elementary school, like on a lower level?
We're doing with everyone, and I feel that you should do it on as early as possible, because you're going to do it age appropriately. You're not going to go out there and say civics to a third grader. Sometimes they don't understand, but you start out with civility,
Right.
and because civics comes from civility, so be kind, be respectful, and that's how we speak to one another. We let people speak. That's a time why we raise our hands in class, why there are rules, so that there's no chaos.
Mhm.
When I talk like that, also, I bring it back to retail theft, and the ramifications of retail theft when people just go in and steal. So you use age appropriate topics and terms for students. That's how I feel. And I don't have any teaching background, but I just know that when you listen to children and you listen to them as they grow up, they tend to think that we're not listening and we're not including them. And that is a way to include them, is to give them that buy-in as well, to say they have a stake in this.
Okay, I would love for you to come to our school.
Sure, no problem. And we also have publications. We have one for elementary school, which is called Learning About Your Courts. We have one for high school students, which is called Democracy in Action. Talks about registering to vote. And I'm in the process, once I get a few staff members onboarded, I want to try and make a civic specific publication as well.
Nice.
And that would be, I'm going to try and get it on our website so that you can just download it as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone ever have any questions for me before I run off?
I see no other hands. Sean, do you see any other hands?
There's no other hands.
Okay. Thank you. And I look forward to meeting all of you soon.
We're looking forward to that as well. Thank you so much for
Thanks so
joining us.
much. We'll be back in touch soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Zena. So
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to my co-chair, Hindi, to introduce Mr. Hungerer.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to have a presentation on services offered by the Kings County District's Office by Frank Ungerer, who is the Senior Assistant District Attorney. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Perfect. I had some difficulty getting online, so I'm going to try to share my screen here. Let me see if I can do that. I have a bit of a presentation I wanted to give. Can everybody see that screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and let me speak. Like I said, my name is Frank Ungerer. I'm an assistant district attorney at the Brooklyn DA's office. So just to start off, in case anybody doesn't know what the Brooklyn DA's office is, the Brooklyn DA's office is a governmental agency. We are in charge of prosecuting crimes throughout the borough of Brooklyn. We are also tasked with engaging with the community in different ways. Two of our main goals in the community is to keep Brooklyn safe, first and foremost, by prosecuting bad actors in the community, and also to help just strengthen community trust with engagements and activities and different events that we host. So just going to go through some of the services we offer. And specifically what I do in the office, I deal a lot with fraud. I'm specifically in the fraud unit. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the frauds that we're seeing in the community and some of the ways that the community can prevent those frauds from happening, protect themselves from some of the different scams that we've been seeing. So again, to start off, one of our main tenets is keeping Brooklyn safe. As I stated, we do that by going after bad actors in the community who are committing crimes against the community. A lot of that revolves around gang violence, unfortunately. We have done a lot to try to combat gang violence, gun violence throughout the community by trying to dismantle gangs, bringing charges against gang members, and also trying to speak about the topic and to prevent future crimes, gang violence from happening. We also, we condemn violence in any form. There's a lot of domestic violence that happens as well in the community, and we also have units that go after domestic violence specifically. And we're very proud to bring justice to the victims of domestic violence throughout Brooklyn. Again, other areas that we've covered are fraud, which we'll speak a little bit more about today. We have a specific real estate fraud unit that actually works to bring homes back to the rightful owners in the community, whether it was taken through different, scams, frauds, different means of that nature. We try to make the subway safe as well, since everyone is affected by the subway. We've done our best to try to keep the community safe, whether they're at home, whether they're at work, or whether they're traveling throughout the borough. You'll see here that we've cracked down on all kinds of different scams, crypto scams, there's pig butchering scams, which I can speak a little bit about, as well as our gun buyback program, which has been a radically successful program. We're trying to basically get guns off the street however we can, and the buyback program has been a very successful way that we've done that as well. I'll just put up some numbers here from 2024. You'll see some highlights. We ended 2024 as one of the safest years on record. Major felonies dropped in Brooklyn during the last months of 2024, which we're extremely proud of due to our efforts, our various units and bureaus, which I'll discuss a little bit about. You'll just see some stats on major crime. Obviously, there's still some work to be done, but we're very proud of the work that we continue to do in the community. I'm trying to prosecute those bad actors that I spoke about. But again, one thing a lot of the presentation is going to be covering frauds and bad actors and how to, prevent them from affecting our community. But we also work with good actors. And I just want to talk a little bit about strengthening community trust. We do that a lot through the events that we hold. You'll see a couple of the events on the screen. We host numerous events throughout the year for all sorts of different cultures, communities. Most recently, we had a women's empowerment discussion for Women's Month. Basically, it was a nonprofit. We brought 4 different speakers in to speak about not only how can you prevent yourself from being affected by crime, but how can we empower the good actors in the community? How can we give you the resources, the tools that you may need to, make an impact in a positive way? We have a bunch of different people in the office, many different units and centers. The biggest one I think that's most relevant to the community at large is the Action Center. It's the second one down. The DA Action Center is where the community can call if there's ever an issue with anything, if there's ever a crime that you want to promote, to report, or if there's anything that you need to get in touch with the DA's office specifically. The Action Center is sort of our touch point with the community. We also have the Victim Services Unit that works specifically with people who have been affected by crimes. We work with different social workers and different outreach groups to try to make sure that if something has happened to you, you get the resources that you're going to need. Obviously, we have many different units that work on different aspects of protecting the community. Our elder abuse unit, our human trafficking unit has been wildly successful. Public integrity deals with if there's any bad lawyers or bad actors trying to work in the government space in the community. We try to root that out and make sure that the community is safe there. Our immigrant affairs unit deals with potentially undocumented citizens of the community. We tell them, even regardless of your status, we want to be able to help you. We don't ask questions of whether you have documents or do not. We want you to come to us irregardless of what, we do a lot of wage theft, a lot of people being put in unsafe situations working in construction, which is something I specifically deal a lot with in my line of work. Teen dating violence obviously is an issue that we've been dealing with a lot of. The Family Justice Unit has been hugely successful, as well as our hate crimes unit. We have many different areas of the office that are specifically designed to target specific areas of the community that might need, specific attention. So I want to talk specifically tonight about the Investigations Division, which is my unit. Investigations is a unit that deals more with long-term ongoing crimes, specifically frauds throughout the community. We have many different units. The elder fraud unit deals with all, specifically older populations that are being targeted, whether it's in community centers, whether it's by loved ones that are maybe being neglectful, or, different, more organized scams that are being perpetrated. We'll go through a few of those tonight. Real estate fraud, cyber crimes, construction fraud, healthcare fraud, public integrity, like I mentioned. These are all different units specifically tasked with different areas that we're trying to target and we're trying to protect. So that's just sort of, we view ourselves sort of as the investigators, the detectives, the protectors of our community at large. We have a couple different goals. First, we want to understand what happened. If someone comes to us with an issue or a problem, if something affected them in a negative way, we want to help listen. We want to figure out what happened to you. Is this something that we can help with? To gather the facts and try to figure out what exactly occurred. We also try to hold liable parties accountable. If somebody took people's money, if they injured the community in some way, we try to make sure that justice is brought for the community. We try to help get back stolen money, specifically in the frauds unit. We try to recover, grand larceny, different ways that funds are taken from community members. We try to get the money back in the people where it belongs. We also try to help the community feel safe generally, whether it's through outreach, again, the gun buyback program, different methods to make sure that there's a preventative element as well, not just a reactionary element. And we help to prevent future fraud from occurring. And so tonight, I really want to focus on those last two pillars, helping the community feel safe and preventing future fraud from occurring. So what is fraud, right? Everyone knows sort of the term fraud. It can take many different faces and many different forms, right? I'm just going to highlight a couple of specific investigations that I have been involved in. There's three here I just wanted to just quickly discuss. One of them is regarding a nonprofit director of an organization who actually was using her role. She was part of a trans nonprofit organization. She was using that role to funnel money from the organization and use that for her own personal benefit, even though she said that that money was going to be going towards people to bail them out of prison when they're being charged with crimes regarding their gender and regarding their identity. She basically created a fake bail program, used the funds that were designated for that program for herself. Another one is a man who was basically stealing real estate throughout Brooklyn through various sketchy means, filing false documents, forging signatures. He was stealing people's buildings and then trying to resell those buildings. His cohort did him on that. And most recently, I indicted a man who was a bad lawyer. He was an actual lawyer, but he decided he was going to take his clients' funds that they should have received from various settlements. He was going to keep that money, not give it to his clients, and then flee the country to Israel. So we worked to get him back to New York and to have him face justice. And we are currently working to get those funds back into the victim's hands. Tonight, I want to talk about one specific type of fraud that is rampant throughout Brooklyn right now, and that's known as mass frauds. Specifically, that's when somebody is going to pretend to be somebody else for the purpose of then taking a victim's money. It comes in many different forms. I'm going to talk about a couple today. One of them are phone scams. So obviously, we all we get on our phones saying, hey, this is Amazon, this is your bank, this is you owe a bunch of fees. That's a very prevalent thing right now that we're working to combat. Very similar frauds happen through the computer. Phishing scams, getting fake emails, fake pop-ups on your computer. I'll talk a little bit about that today. Romance scams, there's a lot of dating apps and dating websites now that are out there. There's people posing as, a good actor. I'm looking for romance, I'm looking for love, when in fact they're trying to use your information to take your funds. Finally, we'll talk a little bit about construction scams. This is the area that I'm doing a little bit more work on right now, specifically talking about people either showing up to your door, trying to do work on your home, or soliciting you for work that they never plan to do, and then trying to charge you fees for that work. So we'll go through each of these individually, and then at the end, talk a little bit about what we can do as a community to try to prevent that fraud from happening. So first, phone scams. Again, everyone's got a phone nowadays, right? If you don't have a phone, you probably know somebody that has a phone. Obviously, it's pivotal to our way of life. A lot of times you're going to, the way that these scams work is you'll get a call. That call will be either from an unlisted number, or it's going to be from a number that you don't recognize. It's not going to be someone saved in your phone. That person's going to pretend to be somebody that you know, or it's going to be somebody that you trust. They're going to be a government official. Right now, it's actually funny, when I was putting this presentation together, one of my colleagues sent me a text message very similar to this. It's apparently ostensibly EasyPass, saying, hey, you owe EasyPass fees, you owe car fees, click this link, click this number, call us right now. We got to get your money. You got to put, you're going to get in trouble. Another really popular one is the sweepstakes. We're going to talk about sweepstakes a little bit more. There's a specific case I'm working on I want to discuss, but The tenor is, you've won a bunch of money, a Publishers Clearinghouse, we're trying to get you your money, but you owe taxes on the money. So send us $5,000 now so that we can send you $3 million in a week via a certified check. Obviously, the check never comes. You give them the money, you never hear from them again. Another really popular one right now is a grandparents scam or a grandchild scam. You'll get a text message from somebody who's ostensibly a grandchild or a loved one saying, hey, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble with the law. Maybe I'm injured. I'm in the hospital, or I decided to take a trip out of state or out of the country and I've been captured or someone's holding me for ransom. You have to send money right now or they're going to hurt me. I'm going to get into trouble. That happens very often. And they often want the money to be sent immediately. And another telltale sign is they want it through some sort of strange method, whether it's a gift card, a Western Union. Sometimes they'll have you go to, Walmart and try different, gift cards such as that. Any way that the money can basically be untraceable. Another really common one right now is banks. You're supposedly getting a text or a phone call or an email from your bank saying that we've blocked your account for whatever activity. You need to give us your account information or transfer money into this secure account that we have with our specific agency to protect your money while we work through this. You send the money, you never hear from them again, you never see your money again. Another one is Amazon. I actually got multiple of these today as I was putting this together from Amazon saying, we're trying to deliver a package to your house. We can't get in touch with you. So please click this link, visit this website, call this number. We'll try to get you your package when obviously no real package exists. So one common thing to look out for, and I typically when I give these presentations, I'm giving it to older folks who are affected by these things, but this applies to anyone and everyone who gets affected by these scams. I'm sure that everyone on here has at least received a phone call or an email that was suspicious. One of the things to look out for is the immediacy. You're going to get people who say, you have to send us the money today, send it to us tomorrow, or you're going to get in trouble. People are really going to push to try to take the money from the community as quickly as they can. That's a huge red flag. Obviously, don't send money unless you're sure it's the right source, you're sure it's a trustworthy person you're speaking to. Again, as I mentioned, the method of money is also a huge red flag. Is it cash, gift cards, Western Union? If it seems like if the government's calling you and asking for cash, that's a huge red flag, right? The government's not asking for gift cards or cash. They're just trying to take your money. Okay, so just real quick, I wanted to talk about a sweepstakes scam in real life. This is an ongoing investigation that we're doing. I blocked out all of the names, obviously, but this is a fraudulent phone number that was we contacted somebody that we had. They're a victim in the community. They basically sent a bunch of pictures of cars saying that they were a Publishers Clearinghouse. Texting with this person saying, hey, you've won all these cars. Asking him to send money. Here's the gift request for gift cards, asking, can you please send? Can you please send? They sent this person a letter in the mail, purportedly from the IRS, saying, you are all this money coming to you, but you obviously owe taxes. So we are the IRS. We're here to collect our taxes. We obviously contacted the IRS. They stated that this was not from them. This is clearly just a fraud. Even though it looks like it might be a legitimate letter, it was sent by the scammers. Unfortunately, this individual ended up going out and buying these gift cards as was requested. He ended up paying over $100,000 to these people for supposed taxes on these winnings. A lot of times victims think this could never happen to me. This particular victim was a very notorious person in the community, very well-known person. He was a former neurosurgeon, very intelligent guy, still very intelligent, very compos mentis, but he too was, susceptible to these scams. So it can happen to anybody. It can also happen through the computer. It's not just through the phone, right? You can get an email or a pop-up message from an unknown email source or from a suspicious, email address. They're going to claim that there's some warning or some issue, something wrong with your computer. There's a couple of different things they might claim. They might say you're affected with a virus. They might claim your computer is locked for some reason, that you have to, contact them to unlock it. Another really popular one right now is that your bank account is being used for fraud. A lot of people I've seen are, they're getting pop-ups saying that your money is being used for either some type of illicit activity, some type of drug activity. So they should send them the money, because if they don't send them the money, they're going to be complicit and they're going to go to jail. And again, prizes, sweepstakes is another very common ruse. This is an example of one of the pop-ups we've seen. Common tactic is, click a link that we're going to send you. We're going to send you a website. Call this number. This is an employee that we use to get you your help, and that way we can get your computer back functioning again. They're going to ask, a lot of times they're going to ask for remote access. which is basically just you giving permission for the scammer to go into your computer and root around for your bank accounts, personal information. You're basically giving them control of your computer. That's typically a pop-up that we'll see. They're going to ask for personal info, again, banking information. And again, there's many different ruses. There's definitely different forms that these scams can take. Another one is a romance scam. They all work very similarly, but they have different flavors to them. You're going to have a fraudster in the romance scam saying that there are, I'm online, I'm looking for love, my identity is XYZ person. They might go through Facebook or Instagram, WhatsApp. They're going to try to gain the trust of the community or the victim. Basically, this is going to result in, after potentially months of communication with this person, they're going to start to ask for money. They're going to say, I'm in legal trouble. I'm having health issues. My kid is sick. I'm having a safety concern. Maybe they got mixed up with the wrong people. They need some money. It's urgent. Or they're going to say, I have an investment opportunity. I have a company and it's doing really well. And we're going to break into a new area and we'd love to have you involved. And so we need some money. We're going to ask for money. It's an example of a text. Again, they're going to ask for bank account information. They might say, they might claim to be, a do-gooder. They might say, hey, there's a lot of scams going on. Why don't you send me the money? I'll protect it. That way you're not a victim of a scam, when in fact they are the scammers themselves. They oftentimes will ask you to take out loans, take out your 401 or pension to help them with an investment or to keep it safe. Another one that we're seeing a lot of is construction scams. And this is something that I'm intimately familiar with. I specifically work in the labor fraud and construction unit. And so this is something I've been dealing with very hands-on right now. We're seeing a lot of specifically elderly victims where people will show up to their door and they will say, hey, I'm going through the neighborhood and I'm trying to do you a service. I noticed that your roof seems a little leaky. Can I go on your roof and check in to make sure that it's safe? They will then go onto the roof. They'll poke holes in the roof using some type of tool. They'll say, hey, look, your roof is leaking. You have to pay us a bunch of money. If you don't pay us a bunch of money, then they're going to come and they're going to take your house. They'll have business cards that look legitimate. They might have paperwork from the city that seems to be legitimate. Obviously, it's not. They're going to make demands that you pay them up front. They're going to say, we can't do this work until you pay us $50,000. Once you agree to do the work, they oftentimes will either not do any work, they'll just take the money and they'll flee, or they'll do a little bit of work and they'll say, oh no, it's actually going to cost $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. The price will keep going up and up and up. And a lot of times victims will feel like they have no choice because at this point their house really is in disarray. So they really do need some work to be done. So they feel like they have to continue to pay the funds. So this is just a small flavor of the scams that we've seen. Obviously, there are others. But the question is, how can you as the community protect yourself? How can we, try to prevent these? It's very difficult for us at times to get money back, especially when these people who are scamming them either leave the country or leave the state. We only obviously have jurisdiction in Brooklyn. It's much better for us to prevent the scams before they happen. So protecting yourself, what can you do? One of the things I always tell people is slow down, right? If anyone in the community is getting a message on their phone or a text message, or if someone's coming to their door, or if you're starting to get romantically involved with somebody that you think you really care about, take it slow, right? Don't give anybody any money. Don't feel like you're pressured into paying any fees. Take your time, do your research, talk to people that you know. There's no reason that you need to be acting today or tomorrow. If it's really a government or a bank, they will give you the proper time. Again, verify information. Right? Use trusted resources. It takes 2 seconds to Google something. It takes a couple more minutes to call someone that you know on the phone and say, hey, I heard about this business that's trying to contact me. Have you heard about them? This bank is calling me. Does this sound correct to you? The more that you verify information, the more likely you are to protect yourself. Also use common sense, right? They always say if it's too good to be true, it is. And that's really the case here. The doctor who was claimed that he won $3.5 million in a sweepstakes. If someone hears that, they might think that it's, too good to be true, and it is. It often is. Be protective with your information. Don't give out information to anybody, even if they're claiming to be a bank, if they claim to be the government agent or an IRS agent. Don't give it out to them willy-nilly. Feel free to take a couple days, look up what the actual IRS website is, go to an actual bank that you've been to before, speak to a teller, speak to a manager, speak to somebody that you trust. Take notes. This is huge. Take notes, take notes, take notes. One of the biggest issues for us when we're prosecuting these cases is somebody will say, 3 months ago, I got a phone call from John Smith and he told me to send money and I sent money, but I don't remember what he called me from. I don't remember how I sent the money. It's very hard for us to create that moving forward. If there's no notes, I always tell people, if you get a phone call, write it down, write the number down, write the time, write what they said to you, write what they asked. The more notes that you can take for us, the better, and the easier it is for us to try to get the money back if it is unfortunate enough that you do give money to a scammer. Again, talk to other people. We are stronger as a community if we work together. And I think that other people are affected by these scams. You never know. If you speak to someone, they might say, oh, I received the exact same call the other day, or my friend spoke to somebody and they received a similar text. The more we are speaking, the less vulnerable we are. And be aware, a lot of these scams, even though they come in different forms, there's a lot of commonality. Urgency, right? They're all going to be give me money right away. They're going to be vague. I'm so-and-so from Chase Bank. Who are you? Well, I work for Chase Bank. I'm an employee. Ask for identification numbers. Ask for if they have a badge. Ask to see anything that you can to confirm their actual identity. Misspellings in emails. Obviously, we've all seen those emails where, it's from the Nigerian prince and prince is spelled incorrectly, right? Like, we all have had experiences of seeing emails that just don't feel right, that look off. Trust your gut. Threats. A lot of times there's going to be a threat involved. If you don't pay me the money, you're going to go to jail. If you don't pay me money, your grandson's going to be injured, right? These types of threats or frightening language is an indicator that this is probably someone who's trying to pressure you into something that you normally wouldn't do. Again, requests for personal information. If they're being a little too pushy, probably for a good reason. And again, if it's too good to be true, it likely is. Trust your gut. I always tell community members, it's better to pass up a good thing than it is to give over your life savings and to be scammed and to not have the money that you rightfully earned. So this is, again, just two numbers to remember. I went through a couple of the units. The big ones to remember is the KCD Action Center. This is the center where you can always call us night or day if anything happens in the community. We have people who work 24/7 literally just to take phone calls, to hear about complaints, to speak with police officers, to try to investigate crimes when they occur. Additionally, this is the Frauds Bureau. This is where the bureau that I work for. I'm here all the time. I don't do anything else. This is literally all that I do. I really enjoy my job. So we are here to serve the community however we can. And, if there's ever an issue, we want to be contacted. So please reach out to us and we will do everything we can, both to protect the community and to help right wrongs when they're committed in the community. And so I'm here for questions. If I don't know a specific answer to something, I will obviously look it up and get back to you. Again, I deal mostly with frauds, but I'm happy to take questions on anything and everything, whatever people are curious about.
Thank you so much. This has been so informative. And I just wanted to add that one of the frauds that are going around, I received it many times on my email, and my husband's received it too, is that they're sending us this thing that quickly we have to pay for tolls, like the Easy Pass, like there was some threat. So that was a recurring one that's been happening.
Exactly. That's one. It's funny. And I think I mentioned that's actually when I was putting this together, one of my colleagues got that on her phone while I was putting and said, look, it literally just happened to me right now while we're talking about it. It's happening in real time every single day for sure.
And there's a different fraud that occurred to my mom that I want to talk to you in private, like after the meeting, or like a different, when you have a chance. So can I call this number on the card? Is that a good
You can actually, if you want, you can call that's my office number right there. You can give me a call. I'm happy to chat with you as well. If you want to talk more broadly, obviously call our Action Center, but I'm more than happy to speak with you after this personally.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Fleck, then Florencia, then Nina had hands up in that order.
Okay. Who was first, Jeff?
Thank you so much, Hindi. And Frank, thank you. I had a couple of questions. One is, I get calls about these things all the time and have involved in a couple. That first order of business is usually to go to dial 911 to report the crime to the police and then get a report number. When, in the nuts and bolts real world scenario, when do they speak to you guys? That's the first question.
Yeah, so for us, so it depends. It depends on what's going on. Like our unit is pretty much like a long-term investigation unit. So if there's a one-off guy who commits one fraud one time and it's just like, I'm going to steal some money, that might not come to us, right? But if there's something where, again, for example, the UPS scam or the Amazon scam, where it's more of a widespread incident that's affecting a lot of people, that's something we would deal with. You're obviously more than welcome to contact the Action Center about anything. If it's specifically fraud related, you're welcome to contact the Frauds Bureau and we'll look into it. For us, it's more of something that is ongoing, consistent, and prevalent within the community. I think is a big thing. If there's, for example, we've had auto theft rings where they were, forging VIN numbers and it was happening in a larger scale. If it's a little bit bigger in the community, that's something we'll look into. If it's a one-off, we might give it to a line assistant who works in our zones. But everyone here is very highly capable, so your problem will definitely get addressed, even if it's not specifically by our unit.
Well, let me repeat or clarify. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Somebody calls me, and I've had this call, by the way, even my own son, who's a professional
Yeah.
in real estate.
Sure.
He was closing on a building, and somehow, at the last instant, he got a very, and he's a professional, right? He got an email to send the money to the wrong place. And that's happened. I've gotten 3 phone calls like that, and the frauds were 250,000, 90,000, and 300,000. So that phone call, they were able to resolve those with the bank in those 3 cases, thankfully. But nobody knows if other people were being scammed. You are the only victim of that crime. So in
Yeah.
that case, or in cases similar to that,
Yeah.
do we call the police? Or do we call you?
I would say you could do either. I would say, I'll put it this way. I would rather you call more often than you need to than to not call, right? Than to not call when you
Okay.
should, right?
Good
I would say
response.
first thing first, always go to the Action Center. You can always go to the Action Center. Their job is literally to sort through the different calls and to direct them to the proper units, right? If you're dealing with something like that, call a fraud unit, right? The only thing that can happen is you have a conversation with us and we say, hey, this isn't necessarily something we would take, but we'll direct you to a different unit who will take it, right? I would much rather you call on things, even if you're unsure, because I would much rather have a conversation with you and it get resolved and you not need us than to you need us and not call us, right? So I guess in short, call us whenever you think, right? Call us whenever you think
Okay.
there's an issue and we'll let you know whether we can do anything.
Very
Frank,
well. Thank you so much.
it's Nancy Lulu. Sorry to cut you off, but I believe Joe Duake is trying to ask, when is it right to call NYPD? Like, I mean, in my opinion, NYPD should always be first. I mean,
Agreed.
Frank, you want to speak on that, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I think NYPD is the obvious first point of contact, right? I think you're never going to be wrong for calling 911. I think you call 911 and, that 911 is the first point of contact for the community generally, right? I think that if you call 911, get an officer to investigate, they're trained to do this. Like they know what to look for, they know how to investigate a case, and they'll know where to direct it. So when in doubt, call 911. Again, the Action Center is another resource. Regardless of who you call, we will be sure that our office directs to somebody who can look into it.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Frank. Sorry.
So Florenzia had a question, the co-chair.
Oh, couple of things. Oh, you also, thank you very much for this presentation, by the way. One that I find some elderly have gone through is folks taking money out of their banks. That's one. And the other one is health scam. That's another one. And then I wanted to ask, could you give the date and location of the gun buyback?
So I can't speak specifically on the locations of the buyback currently. I can get that information for you and I'll provide it to you. I can send it around in an email. Regarding the scams that you talked about, that is another serious issue we're looking into, specifically regarding the accounts. One of the first cases I worked on here was a case where an elderly person was befriended by an individual she thought was, a colleague and a friend. That person then asked to be a joint signatory on the elderly person's bank account and then drained the entire account, right? And in those cases are a little more difficult because you're getting explicit permission to go into someone's bank account, right? They're giving you the permission. And that's, for me, I think one of the pieces of advice regarding those cases is don't give somebody access to your bank account. Even if you need to have them take money out, give them the money. Especially if you trust them. Putting somebody on your account, which is one of the very common right now, as a joint signatory, you're giving that person unfettered access to your funds, right? In a way that it's difficult as a prosecutor to say that they're stealing from you because they're on the account now. So this is technically partially their money as well, right? And that's a very difficult problem for us to overcome. So the biggest piece of advice I would say is, be extremely cautious about putting anybody as an authorized signatory on your account, even if they need access to those funds. There are things you can speak to with the bank and have very limited purposes. This so-and-so can take out this amount of money for this specific purpose. And if that happens, and then that person does not use those funds for those reasons, then we can go after and say, no, 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 right? Then we can start, looking into it and holding somebody liable, right? The healthcare is another problem. SNAP benefits right now is a very big topic of conversation. Now, as far as fraud, we actually have Maria Leonardi is the head of our healthcare fraud unit. And again, it's just a matter of be wary of who you're giving your information to. You're going to have someone calling and saying, I'm with SNAP. I need your personal information. There's, issues with your benefits. Don't give that information out, right? Go Google or call somebody that you trust and say, hey, what's the actual SNAP number, right? Go speak to somebody that is a legitimate source. And if that information is needed, you can provide it at that time, right? I think giving information out is the number one reason why people are targeted.
Yeah, and I think because sometimes the elderly are like lonely, they may talk to, because I've visited some of the elderly folks from my church when
Sure.
they were on the phone speaking to folks who say they're representing Health First or other Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and it's not. They're talking to them to get information from them when it wasn't the health organization at all.
Exactly. Actually, in the case that I was discussing with the sweepstakes, some of the text messages I've seen they're from the scammers and they have nothing to do with the bank accounts. It's just, oh, hi, sir. How was your day today? I hope you got home safe. I hope that you had a good time at church. They do a very good job of establishing a rapport. And then they'll say, oh, well, I'm so sorry to do this, but I'm sick. Oh, so I'm so sorry. Right. Like they're very good at cajoling people, which is why, again, the less information you give out, the less susceptible you'll be. And then once that information is out there, that's when it starts getting turned over to different scammers, and you'll start getting phone calls and emails, and it becomes hard to resist in a lot of ways because they know what our weak points are.
Last thing before you finish, so do you have like a pamphlet, or do you go out to give that kind of information for the elderly, especially, of what to look for?
We do actually. I actually went out a couple weeks ago to speak at a community center specifically to an elderly group. We have pamphlets, we have different services that we can provide and different pieces of information that we provide on a regular basis. Nancy would be obviously the contact person. She'd be the one to speak to get some of that information if you want more. But if you have an event or anything you'd want us to speak to, speak with Nancy and our community outreach, and I'm sure we would love to do that.
Thank you.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. What I was gonna say before is that when my father passed, somebody, I don't know, twice they went and they took money out of my mother's bank account. My mother's not that elderly, and she wouldn't give anyone information. They literally took out a license in my father's name. I don't know how they did that. And they were sitting in the bank and they called my mom, and my mom's like, they said, oh, somebody, Alan Birnbaum is whatever. He's withdrawing $10,000 or whatever it is. And she's like, he's dead. And I mean, and they didn't keep him there. They didn't keep him, like my mother said, keep him until I come, and they didn't want to keep him till the police, like they just let him go. I don't know why the bank would allow someone who's attempting fraud to just go, but they were able to take out money twice from my mother's account. She got back the money from the bank, but why would such a thing be able to happen? Like, why would that, like,
You're speaking to an issue that I have really had a lot of gripes with since I've been in the office. I think sometimes banks like to do the bare minimum just to make sure that they're covering themselves. There have been different instances where I've seen banks that have allowed people to open up accounts with no licenses, with no ID, with no first name. It'll just say bank applicant on the signature card. I think there's a lot of more holistic issues in terms of what banks are and are not doing, right? I don't necessarily have the ability to stop myself. And that being said, I think that's even more important to don't rely on the bank to protect you, right? Protect yourself. There are things you can do. For example, in that instance, if your mother got the money back, there's a thing called a hold harmless letter, which is if you contact your bank and say, hey, I didn't authorize this. I want a letter specifically saying you're not going to let those funds come out of my account. My account will be held harmless and the bank is going to eat those funds. There's different things you can do. but they're not always
What's
guaranteed.
that called? It's called a
It's
what?
called a hold harmless letter.
Hold harmless. Okay.
It's basically what happens. That's more of like bank to bank. My biggest recommendation is if you see any type of potentially fraudulent activity in your account, immediately contact your bank and demand that they're going to do something about it and let them know that this is fraud. And what the
Right.
banks will sometimes do, not always, but sometimes they'll contact the recipient bank of wherever that money went, and they'll say, you're supposed to hold this client harmless. We will eat the whatever funds from us so that the client doesn't lose any money. But that has to be done very quickly. Otherwise, the banks won't do it.
So the question is though, how do we, so my mother got back the money, like she's
Yeah.
on top of it and everything, but why should those people just be allowed, like who knows how many more times they're gonna attempt that, you know? Like
I agree.
so,
I fully agree with you. I
so
fully agree with you.
how do we go after those people and like what can we do to prevent that in the future?
I mean,
It's not like that whole-
that's my bread and butter. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Right. I'm doing my best. I think it's a matter of, I think it's a combination of preventativeness, right? If we're all being a little bit smarter, then they'll be a little less effective, and hopefully they'll maybe trying to stop doing this or move on to at least move on to a different community. I know it's not great, but like, I only have jurisdiction over Brooklyn, but also too, we do as much as we can to trace funds. In that sweepstakes game, I'm still tracing the funds to try to figure out the ultimate source of who is obtaining the funds. And then we try to prosecute them, especially if they're in Brooklyn. I have a case right now with two people who are in Brooklyn who are using pop-ups on people's computer saying, again, your money's being used for fraud. Give us your money. We'll protect your money. And our goal is to indict them. Our goal is to bring forth a grand jury case and to try to prosecute them and to hold them liable. It's not easy to do, but if we have the good notes and we have people who, have actually in real time given us enough of a breadcrumbs to go and follow, we're going to do our best to make sure that they're held liable.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. And Nina, you had a question?
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, thank you very much. Wow, lots and lots of information. So thank you for that. I just want to say, first of all, I have a very, very, very low bar on my settings for credit card and debit card withdrawals or use for anything. So I get an alert right away. So if I see something strange that I can't connect to anything, then I can call the bank. And sometimes it turns out, some of these organizations, you make a donation, but they use there's another name for the org that it goes through for that organization, but it's legit. But the other thing is sometimes, you get these text messages or whatever, and like, da 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 with, this is, whatever, I use Chase, so this is Chase, you need to contact us immediately. I don't ever respond to those. What I do is I call the number on the back of my debit card or my credit card. And
you said, this sounds great, Nina. You're exactly the type of citizen that I love to hear. Like, that's exactly what you should do. Exactly what you should do. Alerts, limits on your account, calling the number on the card. Don't trust sources of information that you didn't authorize. It's perfect.
Okay, so the one thing that I find really unnerving, I know that they're fraudulent Easy Pass notifications because that's not how Easy Pass lets me know things, and that's not how they handle my accounts, etc. But it's like they tend to come up within a day or two after I've gone through a toll, and I don't drive a lot, so it's like not. So if I've gone through a toll, I know that I've done that. I was like, how the heck does that happen? It just almost seems too, I don't know, too coincidental. I'm not sure if that's quite the word that I'm looking for, but do you understand what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, I went through a toll on Sunday, and then Monday there's this text message. It's like, what? So
I don't know. I don't know if if there's a connection between them and you actually using the Easy Pass, or if it's more for me. I've realized, as human beings, we want to connect things back to things in our life, right? Like, I received a text the other day that said, like, well, are you going to let them get away with this? It was just some random scam that they were trying to get me to respond to, and I immediately was going in my head of like, oh, who could that be from, right? I'm trying to connect it to friends, family, different events that were relevant to me. So I hear you. It seems like you go through a toll and then you're getting these text messages. And I think that a lot of that might be coincidence. I haven't seen any connection between these scammers and like, a legitimate Easy Pass company. but they're very good at it. They're very good at making you feel like, oh, I was just driving and now I got this text. Maybe it is legitimate, right? And I think the method you just mentioned of, authorized methods of communication, calling sources that you trust, calling the number in your card. Those are like the best methods to make sure that, they're not going to fool you, because they're very good at trying.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when the first time it happened to me, I was like, "What?" But then what I said was, wait a minute. And I stopped, I thought about it, and I said, no, I don't think that this is how. I mean, I have a regular refilling account. So unless there's a reason why it's not refilling automatically, like, my card expired and I forgot to put in the new information or something like that. But then I went to the Easy Pass site and made sure that all of the information that they had was correct. But I noticed on the Easy Pass site, they do talk about exactly this thing. The problem is, it's exhausting. It's almost a full-time job reporting these things.
Yeah. I agree. And and again, it's one of those situations where it's also difficult on our end, right? Like I do my best to try to get money back to victims as much as I can. There's a lot going on in the community, and it takes a village, right? It takes everybody trying to protect themselves individually. Our office trying to protect people when crime does occur, and to keeping people informed, right? Letting people know what the resources are out there if they are victimized, and how to not be victimized in the future. But you're right.
Yeah.
They're doing it as a full-time job, and it's on us to also do it as a full-time job to help stop it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just wanted to say, Nina, the same thing happened to me. And it was like I went somewhere, I used the Easy Pass, and the very next day. And so I said, wait a minute. And then, when my husband checked, it was like, of course, but I told him, I said, no, that's a scam. And sure enough, it was.
Yeah, yeah. I know the first time I saw it, I kind of did a double take, and then I said,
Yeah.
not sure, but this doesn't see. I said, let me look at my Easy Pass account and see if it shows when I log into my account that there was a problem with the payment. Because, that did happen one time. But I think the way they notified me was different. And it just said something about that card had expired and I forgot to put in the new card or something. And it was like, they contacted me through my email, not a text message, and there was something else about it and then I went into the Easy Pass account myself rather than responding even to that email or whatever, and then said, oh, okay, I see what the problem is. I need to update my my debit card.
I think that first of all, I just want to thank you so much for all this information, and I think that the major takeaway really is to really slow down, like you said, and not be pressured, and to really verify it, and not use the email or the text that you get, but actually go through the actual company that's coming after you and find out exactly what's going on. So I
Exactly.
think that is so helpful, and something that I would definitely like to spread, and definitely say that at the major community board meeting on, next month. But that this was just really informative, and I hope that we'll have you back again at some other time.
We're happy to. Thank you guys so much for having us. We really appreciate being here.
We are so grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
Okay. Florencia, I don't know, do you have any other business that you want to discuss?
I have a
Oh,
question for Frank when you get a chance. Sorry.
oh, go ahead.
So do I.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry. Two things. One is the nature of the responses that we've been hearing from you, Frank. I haven't heard that you're prosecuting anybody on these frauds.
Are certainly prosecuting them, Joe. I can't talk too much about ongoing investigations, but I can let you know now. I mean, again, I've shown you the 3 press releases of fairly high profile cases that we've brought. The difficulty is a lot of times with specifically the scams that are done with the computer is money gets transferred overseas. And for me, we can go after people in Brooklyn, especially if we have jurisdiction in Brooklyn. The issue becomes when they start getting transferred to Jamaica, Hong Kong, India. That's more difficult for us to prosecute, but we bring cases all the time. We've brought high profile real estate cases, like I said, there's an individual named Derek Johnson who we indicted for stealing $750,000 in property. There's an individual named Alan Ross I indicted. There's a lot of people that we've brought justice. We've held accountable for their actions. And again, it's not to say that these cases are easy, but I do my darndest to make sure that when people commit crimes, that they are held accountable for sure.
That's really only if the perpetrator is local. And the other thing is that what we've seen in Hindi's case and the other cases, in fact, in my own case as well, sometimes there is a modicum of truth that you're worried about. Maybe a bill was lost in the mail, and so yes, you're worried about that
Yep.
particular thing, and so people are therefore vulnerable for that. I had my daughter-in-law; she's in a master's program. Her her co-student was missing for 3 days.
Jeez.
So we started so it turns out that she did fall for the scam because she owed money on her student loan, and she was going around the city getting Costco or cards to pay this because she really did owe money, and she was concerned. And that crap happens obviously because people is a moment of truth or a modicum of truth. I'm sorry, but obviously if it is overseas, you really can't prosecute. But thank you so much, Frank.
Yeah, Joe, I just want to reiterate again, I think that's one of the frustrating parts for me is that we do have limited jurisdiction, being an agency that only works in Brooklyn in the borough. It is frustrating for me when I see people being taken advantage of and then the money goes somewhere where I just can't reach it. That being said, we do work as hard as we can to make sure that we have a jurisdictional hook. For example, the one scam that I'm dealing with right now with the Microsoft pop-up, it seems like there's individuals in Brooklyn who are committing the scam. They're transferring money to parties overseas who are then laundering the money. And there's a bunch of people in those accounts where the money's being laundered. So I'm actually working through right now accounts to try to see if there are any other perpetrators in Brooklyn so that we can try to get a couple more of these scammers off the streets. So it's difficult, but I really am trying my best to try to prosecute whoever needs to be prosecuted in Brooklyn because the goal is to keep the community safe.
And Frank, I want to jump in and say thank you too. I appreciate that you have pointed out that their scammers are very good at it, which and so even people with a great command over their own common sense will fall for things because they're good at what they do. I appreciate that you were at a community center recently and wonder if you also are working with like tenant organizations, tenant coalitions, organized tenants associations, neighborhood housing services on some of those home repair scams, because they're people who are working with people who have, repair needs in their homes. That's sort of what brings a lot of tenants associations together to get the word out. And then of course our sister agencies, HPD and DOB, I imagine that there's so much on open data in terms of buildings that have, a lot of HPD violations. I wonder if that leaves them vulnerable. And then finally, my other question is on the Easy Pass and scams like that, one of the some advice that goes around, and I'm wondering if you can attest to the veracity of this, is that it might indicate a password weakness, and that when you get one of those Easy Pass or a similar scan to that you should sort of just refresh some of your passwords, especially repeated passwords. Does that really help?
Yeah, so let me just take each of those in turn. So firstly,
Thank
we
you.
definitely do work hand in hand with community groups. Specifically ones I can think of is Community Resist I'm working with right now on a case. Catholic Migration Services is another one I've worked with in terms of like a lot of wage issues. It's funny you mentioned HPD, DOB, DOI. I'm on the phone with them every day. Like literally every day I have people that I'm, because again, being in the construction fraud and labor unit, it's something that I'm intimately familiar with them. I have a lot of really good colleagues over there, so we are working hand in hand with them. In terms of the password weakness, I think you're 100% right. I think if you're getting these text messages and these emails, not only do you have weak passwords and you should change your passwords, but at this point, the password's probably been compromised, honestly. Like they have your information. There's a reason that they're targeting you. So you're on some list somewhere where these people know to reach out to you. For example, again, not to keep harping on it, but the sweepstakes case that I'm working on right now, that started off with text messages. The individual was receiving multiple text messages. Then it turned into hundreds of text messages. Then it turned into emails. Then it turned into pop-ups on his computer. which indicates to me that there's one scammer who says, hey, we got a live one. This guy is going to give money. Here, give it to a friend, give it to a friend. So if you are receiving what seems to be like an inundated number of text messages and emails, it might be worthwhile to get a new number. It might be worthwhile to change your passwords. It might be worthwhile to get a new email address, right? And I think that that's something that you can do that might take a little bit of effort, but I think will really help in the long run. And then once you have that new number, again, it's so critical to be protective of that information. So you're not just giving it out to anybody and everybody, because then those texts are going to start again.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Thanks for everything. You've been supportive to our office in a lot of different ways, and I never, ever want to miss an opportunity to sing Nancy Lulu's praises. Thank you, Nancy.
Sean, thank you so much. You're the best. And if I could just quickly answer Florencia's question. So our gun buyback is going to be April 5th. It's going to be at the Cornerstone Baptist Church. The address there is 574 Madison Street, Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy. And it's going to be from 10 to 4, no questions asked. And I shared the flyer with the community board, and I'll be more than happy to text it to you, Florencia.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
it might even already be up on our website, but if it's not right now, it will be tomorrow.
Thank you
Perfect.
so much. Thank you for having us.
We love having you guys.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for the information.
Yes. Okay. So are we ready to wrap it up?
Hindi, run. I know you've got a million things to do. Go.
Do we have any new business? Oh, all I wanted to say was that there was a shooting on Tuesday night, but it's not fatal. It was grazing on the neck, and they don't know the shooters any information.
Yeah.
All right. Let me know when the
Oh, they're actually doing a shooting response, community response, sorry, tomorrow at 3 p.m. because Detective Newsy won't be in on Monday.
Okay.
If I can interject on something I just learned, by the way,
But wait
that
a minute, Joe, before, can Nancy and Frank go?
yes,
I want them here for that.
but
Thank you. Good
actually,
night, guys.
Good night. Good night, Nancy. Thank you. And
you
Good
very
night,
much.
Nancy. Good night,
night,
Frank.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
sir.
very much.
I heard that murder rates, in murder rates, people have to die, obviously, and that depends on people getting or not getting to hospitals in time, or not getting treatment in time. And if they're not getting treatment in time, there's more murders. That to work it backwards, if there can be quicker response, or what they did was in certain cities, they actually taught the kids to put tourniquets on or put compression on onto wounds, and it's gone to, as you said, Florencio, somebody's injured rather than dead. So it's saving lives, and also saving the lives of people who were arrested and they're no longer murderers. Now they're just assault
Yeah, but you don't want them
perpetrators.
to try again a different time.
Well, the point is that it has been working. I don't like the idea of the whole thing, but it does work. So
Yeah.
maybe an intervention of teaching people first aid can actually help in this.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of Hatzalah, because it takes so long for EMT to get anywhere that they with Hatzalah, there's members all over the place, so they have like a 2 to 4 minute like
Well,
turnaround.
that's the Jewish community. I'm talking about certainly the Black community.
No, but like they would
Yeah,
like Hatzalah would come anyway.
whole different ballgame. But maybe Sean can have. Last time, remember when they came, Sean? They said they talked about the response times, and I think now that they actually have the fire department also responding, and many times they get there before the ambulances.
But maybe we could have a first aid. Maybe we could do something from our committee. We could have a first aid training or something. Maybe we could do a community wide.
It's
Let's-
also
Let's review that with our public safety officers,
Yeah.
because there's also, at least anecdotally, some concerns about people who went to help somebody who was targeted by somebody else, and then they are now not on the right side of an intergroup issue that they had nothing to do with, and now they do.
Okay, I hear you. Okay.
Ew.
Also, it's a trauma center issue as well. If we could have,
Right,
I'm
so
not sure
keep SUNY Downstate Hospital open is what you're saying.
precisely,
Yes.
precisely. That's
Yes,
really
Sean.
the
Yes,
issue.
Sean.
That's
Yes.
really the issue. It
Right
really
on.
is.
That is
Um,
the issue. But Sean, really, you've seen that, right? That the fire department do get there before some ambulances. Like I've called 911 just being a normal bystander, and then the fire
I can tell you
department
that
responded first.
FDNY and EMS response time is down it's up. It's taking them longer to get places citywide.
Really?
It's a problem citywide. You know, and we talk about several contributing factors to that. Some of it is just the fact that there's so many construction sites everywhere. So, I mean, then that's just one factor. So yeah, I mean, it is an ongoing conversation in the city, though. It's not like it's lost on the people who are policymakers and decision makers. So hopefully they're addressing remedies. We just actually had this is a little bit difficult, but we did have a speed hump changed out to a speed cushion because our Cortelia Road Firehouse was having some problems with the local speed hump and having to slow down so much to get over it. And my idea to put just the super short guy in the back of the truck and go as fast as they needed to, I guess didn't fly.
I wonder why.
Sean,
I don't know. I
have
just try to
to,
advocate for short people being one myself.
Sean. No, that's not. No,
Sorry. It's getting late for me, I guess.
I
Yeah.
know.
I have to jump. So
Hi,
I know.
thank you, Hindi. We will avoid Thursdays. I really appreciate you carving out the time. I know it was hard. Thank you.
thank you. Have a good night,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
all you.
Cindy,
Thank you
for
so much. God bless you all.
Great
thanks, Cindy.
meeting. God
See you
bless you.
soon.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Shabbos when it comes. All right. Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you
Good night,
all for
everyone.
thank you all for tuning in. Have a wonderful night and a restful night for those who need rest. Good night, Marie. Hey, Shahid. Night.